as per Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. The first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered after attaining Buddhahood. So in addition to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, I'm also using the Sothapanna Sutra, Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, Ratana Sutra, and the Chutta Sutra. Now, all these sutras I have taken from the oldest Tripitaka in the world, which is now kept at the British Library in London. British Library happens to be about 18 miles from our vihara. So except during winter time, I go there once a week, and I have been studying this Tripitaka extensively. And all the information that I'll be quoting in these Dhamma sermons and discussions will be from that Tripitaka. So it's possible the information that I'm explaining in some cases might differ from what you have learned already from other Tripitakas and other books. And if that is the case, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to everything I say carefully, remember them, take them home and go through them, analyze them using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you think it's right, you can take it, make use of it, practice it, and you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you think that it's wrong, just leave it out and carry on the way that you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. So I'm making the same kind request from all of you. Now, first we observe Panchasila, then we will meditate for 5 minutes, and then I will deliver the sermon for about 1 hour. After that, I'll give you 2 hours to ask any questions. Right, let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinnadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu micchācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya Majjapama Dattana Veramani Sikkapadang Samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to meditate for 5 minutes to get everyone in the right mood to listen to the Dhamma sermon. Can you all please sit comfortably, either on a chair or on a cushion or on the floor, whichever you find most comfortable for you. You can lean against the wall if you like. Keep your back straight. Take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please repeat this Karmastana meditation sentences after me. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. Let us repeat once more. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you please repeat those Karmastana meditation sentences in your mind for 3 minutes, please? While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. Now you can slowly open your eyes, sit comfortably, and get ready to listen to the Dhamma sermon. As I said earlier, I will deliver the sermon for about 1 hour. Then I'll give you 2 hours to ask any questions. Pankaj and Nagsen, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, Bhante.
Okay, thank you. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, in this series of Dhamma discussions, I'm explaining the path to Sothapanna, the first level of enlightenment. This is the third sermon of the third session, third season that we are doing. We did 2 seasons last year, 10 sermons of each, and this is the third season, third round, if you like. So this is the third sermon of the third round. Before I start explaining the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, let me quickly recap what we discussed so far. In the first sermon, I explained the Chutta Sutra. In the Chutta Sutra, Lord Buddha explained why it is necessary for a human being to become Sothapanna. He explained with so many details and with facts and figures that if a person doesn't become Sothapanna by the time he dies, then there's a 99.999% probability that he will go to the 4 hells, directly or indirectly. If anyone wants to know those details again, please ask me during question time. I am more than happy to explain again and again and again until all the people comprehend all these important points in Dhamma. Then I started to explain the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. First, the summary. Let me quickly go through the summary of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. In the summary, first Lord Buddha said, Pubbe ananusutesu dhammesu. I'm explaining you a Dhamma you haven't heard before. So according to the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, there are only 5 human beings who listened to this first sermon. They were the Panchavagya Bhikkhu, Kondanya, Badhya, Vappa, Mahana, Massaji, and all 5 of them became Sothapanna at the end of the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. In addition to that, Lord Buddha has given names of 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka from where superior beings, Brahma and Deva, sometimes in some books they are referred to as gods, but I think it's to avoid confusion, it's better to refer to them as superior beings from Brahmaloka and Divyaloka. 330 million of them came to listen to this first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, and over 18 million managed to attain Sothapanna or higher. So this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra explains Buddha Dhamma from A to Z, from beginning to the end. And if one really masters Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and comprehends what is explained there and practice that path, one will become Sothapanna very quickly. And once you are Sothapanna, you are guaranteed that you are protected from the 4 hells for the rest of your samsara. First Lord Buddha says, Pubbe ananusutesu dhammesu. Then he says, Chakkung udapadi, Jnanang udapadi, Panya udapadi, Vijja udapadi, Aloko udapadi. Chakkung udapadi means I got the vision of Dhamma. Jnanang udapadi means I got the knowledge of Dhamma. Panya udapadi means I got the wisdom of Dhamma. Vijja udapadi means I got the science of Dhamma. Aloko, the Padi means I became Loka from Aloka. By Loka, Lord Buddha meant the Nibbana, the light. And by Aloka, the darkness, he meant the 31 planes. That's the 20 Brahmaloka, 6 Divyaloka, Manushaloka, and the 4 hells, where there is suffering to a greater or lesser extent. Further you go down in the 4 hells, there's immense suffering. Higher you go up, the suffering reduces. And all those places, there's certain amount of suffering, and all those places are temporary. The only permanent place without any suffering is Nibbana. That is the best place to go to. Then Lord Buddha says, in order to understand this Dhamma, there are 3 things first you have to do. First, you have to come out of Karmastana yoga, that is coming out of luxury living. And then you also have to come out of Atta yoga, that is the other extreme, giving unnecessary suffering to the body, suffering from hunger and thirst, and unnecessary suffering, thinking that that will help you to maximize your wisdom and comprehend Dhamma. You have to come out of that as well. So you have to come out of both extremes, and you have to come to Majjhima Patipada. Majjhima Patipada does not mean a middle path. Majjhima Patipada means, Majjhim means getting drunk of Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Ma means completely eradicating that. And Patipada means the way, the system, the path. So Majjhima Patipada means the path that helps you to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely. Buddha Dhamma is all about eradicating Raga, Dvesha, Moha, maximizing Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha. By doing that, maximizing your wisdom to the highest level and comprehending Dhamma. Dhamma is the universal laws, how this universe works. Buddha Dhamma is the universal laws that Lord Buddha explained. Then Lord Buddha says, Majjhima Patipada is the noble eightfold path. That is Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. So here it's very important. Now all these 8 folds, 8 steps, the 8 things one has to do that Lord Buddha has recommended, they all begin with the word Sangma. So it's very important to know the meaning of this word Sang. Ma we already know, completely eradicating. The word Sang, that is the word that appears the highest number of time in the Tripitaka. And that refers to any action that you take mentally, physically, or verbally with Raga, Dvesha, Moha thoughts. If you're now to do anything mentally, physically, or verbally, first we have to construct a thought. There are 2 ways in which we can construct the thought. One is with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, which will help us to continue this samsara, the life, the cycle of birth and rebirth. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekkha helps us to get out of this, the samsara, the cycle of birth and rebirth. There is suffering, and go to a permanent place called Nibbana, where there is no suffering whatsoever. So to find out the meaning of this Sang, the best place, the word Sang appears in many places. Now, if you take the important words in Buddha Dhamma, to start with the Noble Eightfold Path, then the second noble truth, Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satchang, that's Sang Udaya. Samudaya means Sang Udaya. I will explain that later. And then Sankara, Sabbe Sankara Anichati Yada Panyaya Passati. Atani biddhati dukke esamaggo visuddhya. Lord Buddha said, Siyalu sankara anicca dukkha. Anattai, if you comprehend that, if you see that and comprehend that with your wisdom and keep out of it, stop doing sankara, that is the way to Nibbana. So here again, the word sankara is very important. Lord Buddha said, all you have to do is stop doing sankara. So that is why it is there are many other places like the word Sangvardhana, Santapa, Sandeepa, Sangita, Santosha, like that, many places where this word Sang appears in the Tripitaka. So that's why it's very important to know the correct meaning of this word Sang. In most books, most Tripitaka translations, the word Sang is translated incorrectly. Before reading this old Tripitaka, which is kept at the British Library, which is over 2,100 years old, I read 4 other Tripitakas, 2 Pali and Sinhala, 2 English Tripitakas, English translations, and in all 4, the word Sang has been translated incorrectly. So if you get the word Sang incorrectly, then you will not be able to comprehend correct Buddha Dhamma, and you will not be able to become Sothapanna. So that's why it's very important to comprehend the word, comprehend the correct meaning of the word Sang. So the best place to prove this is if you look at the last 3 words of Lord Buddha. The last 3 words Lord Buddha said, one moment. Can someone remember the last 3 words? I have repeated this many times before. If someone can remember the last 3 words, can you put your hand up?
Yes, Bhante. Can I say it, Bhante?
Yes, please.
Apamadena sampadeta.
Very good. Apamadena sampahadeta. Apamadena means without any delay. In singular, Appamadena is a Pali or Magadhi word. In Sinhala language, we say Appramada. In Pali, it says Appamada. It's the same word. Pahadeta. The word Paha we have in the Sinhala language as well as Magadhi language and Pali language. Paha means remove. Pahadeta means remove. Remove completely. So Lord Buddha said, without any delay, remove completely. What did he ask people to remove? Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So the word Sang refers to Raga, Dvesha, Moha. That is the Noble Eightfold Path. So the word Sang appears in all 8 folds. Then Lord Buddha said, in order to comprehend the Noble Eightfold Path, first one has to comprehend the 4 Noble Truths. Lord Buddha called them Dukkhang Arya Satchang, Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodho Arya Satchang, Dukkha Nirodhagamini, Patipada Arya Satchang. Dukkhang Arya Satchang means the noble truth of suffering. Dukkha Samudaya Arya Satchang means the noble truth of the cause of suffering or the reason for suffering. And the third one is Dukkha Nirodho Arya Satchang, noble truth of out of suffering. And the fourth one is Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipada Arya Satchang, noble truth of the way out of suffering. Then Lord Buddha explained that there are 4 things one has to do in order to comprehend these 4 noble truths. So the 4 things are Lord Buddha said, Kalyana Mitra Sevana. The first one, Kalyana Mitra Sevana, means associating a person who is capable of explaining correct Dhamma to you that will help you to eradicate Raga Dvesha Moha. Kalyana Mitra Sevana. Second one is Siri Saddharma Sravana. Sravana means listening. Listening to the correct Dhamma explained by that person. Yoniso Manasikara. Yoniso Manasikara means the Dhamma that you have learned and remembered by listening, you go through it over and over again and try and comprehend it. And the fourth one is Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada. Dhammanu Dhamma Patipada, Lord Buddha explained in 3 different places, in 3 different gathas, the same thing. The first one is Sabba Papasa Karanang Kusalasa Upasampada Sachitta Pariyoda Panang Etang Buddha Anusasana. The second one is Sabbe Sankara Anichati Yada Panyaya Passati Atani Bindati Dukke Esamago Visuddhya. Third one is Anicca Vata Sankara Uppad Vayadammino Uppajitva Nirujjanti Te Sang Upasamosuko. As you can see in these 3 gathas, the word sang appears in several places. So let's quickly look at the meanings of these 3 gathas. It says the same thing in different ways. The first one says, Sabba Papasa Akaranang. Eradicate all unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome deeds, and unwholesome qualities. Kusalasa Upasampada. Develop, cultivate, and accumulate wholesome thoughts, wholesome deeds, and wholesome qualities. Sachitta Pariyodapanang. Through the above process, purify your mind and maximize your wisdom to the highest level. Etang Buddha Anusasana. This is the advice given by every Samma Sambuddha. So that's the meaning of the first gatha. Second gatha, it says, Sabbe Sankara Anichati. All Sankara Anichai, Dukkai, Anattai, Yada Panyaya Pasyati. If you understand that and comprehend that using your wisdom, Atva Nibbindati Dukke. If you keep away from doing Sankara, Esamago Visuddhya. This is the path to Nibbana. So in other words, all you have to do is stop doing Sankara. What is Sankara? Unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome deeds, and unwholesome qualities. Then the third one says, Anicca Vata Sankara Uppad Vayadammino Uppajitva Nirujjanti Te Sang Upasamosuko. Te Sang means the 3 sons. That's Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So Anicca Vata Sankara. Again, all Sankara, Anichai, Dukkai, Anattai. Anicca Vata Sankara Uppada Vayadammino. They originate, exist for a while, and then they get disorientated, they disappear. Anicca Vata Sankara Uppada Vayadammino. Uppajitva Nirujjanti. If you can eradicate them the very moment they originate, Uppajitva Nirujjanti Te Sang Upasamosuko. That is the way to eradicate the 3 sons, Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So it's all about eradicating Raga, Dvesha, Moha and maximizing Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. It sounds easy, but it's easily said than done. But believe me, you all can become Sothapanna. I have heard many preachers saying it's difficult to become Sothapanna and impossible and you can't do in this life. There's no such thing. Becoming Arhat is little difficult, even that is not impossible. But becoming Sothapanna, everyone can do. During Lord Buddha's time, it says in one of the sutras, the population of Sravasti was 60 million. Out of the 60 million, over 90% were Buddhists. Over 90%, over 75% were Sothapanna or higher. Out of the 75%, less than 5% were Buddhist monks and nuns. And over 70% were lay people who were living at home with their families, doing normal jobs, businesses, whatever, those agriculture, whatever they did to earn a living those days. While doing all that, they listened to Dhamma, comprehended Dhamma, practiced Dhamma, and became Sothapanna. So remember, if you study and comprehend the Chutta Sutra in detail, you will realize that you will have no choice in this life but to become Sothapanna. Because if you don't become Sothapanna, your next port of call after death will definitely be the four hells. You will either go there directly or indirectly through a bad Divyaloka or a bad Brahmaloka. As I said, I explained that in the first sermon. But if anyone wants to know it again, please ask me during question time. I'm more than happy to explain it in detail again, because it's very, very important for you to know. Firstly, comprehend why it is necessary to become Sothapanna and what happens to you if you don't become Sothapanna. So once you have realized that, comprehended that, realize the gravity of it, only you will decide that I will become Sothapanna. Believe me, you all can. Lord Buddha said, Lord Buddha divided people into four categories, those who listen to Dhamma. And the first category, the four categories are Utkatitanna, Vipatitanna, Neya, and Padaparama. The first category, Lord Buddha said, the most wise people, who has the highest level of wisdom, they will become Sothapanna within 7 days. The second category will become Sothapanna within 7 weeks. The third category will become Sothapanna within 7 months. And 99% of the people fall into those three categories. So all of you can become Sothapanna within 7 days, 7 weeks, or 7 months, but you have to learn it, comprehend it, and of course practice it. Practicing is very, very important. Now, in the last sermon of this series, always in the last sermon, I explain people how to practice this in your day-to-day life. And so if you bear with me and continue these sessions, you will learn that. So only 1% of the people who will take up to 7 years. And I don't think there is anyone here who will fall into that last category, people who have the lowest level of wisdom. And all these people fall into the first three categories, and they will become Sothapanna within 7 months, provided they learn it correctly, comprehend it correctly, and practice it correctly. It's not difficult at all. Believe me, all of you can do it. So that was the summary that Lord Buddha explained of Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. Then he took every important point in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra and explained it in detail. So last time I started the explanation, and the first noble truth, Lord Buddha said, Dukkhang Arya Satchang, the noble truth of suffering. Firstly, Lord Buddha explained 11 types of suffering that people were undergoing. They didn't realize it. They didn't know the reason for it. So they couldn't stop it. So Lord Buddha, the 11 were Jati pi dukkha, Jara pi dukkha, Vyadi pi dukkha, Maranam pi dukkha. There are 4 there. Then he said 5 other types of suffering, which is, if you like, the same types of suffering that comes in different quantities, if you like. The first one is, let's say, 20 units, second one 40 units, third one 60 units, fourth one 80 units, and the fifth one 100 units. So those, he said, Soka, Parideva, Dukkha, Domanassa, Upayasa, P Dukkha. The word P is there in all 11. So 4 plus 5 is 9. Then he explained 2 more. P yehi vipayogo dukkho, appi yehi sampayogo dukkho. Then he said, those are the 11. Then he said, yampi ichcham nalabati tampi dukkha. All those 11 he said, yampi ichcham nalabati tampi dukkha. Yampi ichcham nalabati means if you are attached to something and you have to have it, if you are mentally attached to something or someone, and you always have to have it your way, and if you don't get it, obviously you cannot have it forever, and then it will cause you suffering. So all those 11 are things that you get attached to due to attachment. You are attached to something or someone, and when you can't have it the way you want, then you develop anger. And resentment and so on. So the attachment is the problem. Attachment with raga, dvesha, moha is the problem. I explained that in the second session. If anyone wants to know it in detail, please question me during question time. Those 11 types of suffering are all due to attachment, Lord Buddha explained with examples. Now remember one point that the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra in all the Tripitakas that I have seen, before I read this old Tripitaka at the British Library, which has been written down 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away. So it makes it over 2,100 years old now. And the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is written using the Sinhala alphabet. So this Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, now it's written using the Sinhala alphabet because it has been written down at Alulena Rajamaha Vihara in Kegol district. Today it's called Kegol district in Sri Lanka. So in this Tripitaka, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is written on 48 pages. But all the other 4 Tripitakas that I have read, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra is less than 4 pages. So the 4 Tripitakas that I have read earlier, they only have the summary. And I believe that all the other Tripitakas in the world, they all have only the summary. And only this old Tripitaka, the first one that was written down in the world by Arahat monks, and that is the complete Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. It has the summary as well as all the details. So in the details, Lord Buddha has taken every point in the summary and explained it in detail. So the problem that most monks are facing is if they haven't read the old Tripitaka, they are trying to elaborate the important points in the summary using their own experience, own knowledge, and that's where things go wrong. And that's why they are finding it difficult to become Sothapanna, and they are telling the followers becoming Sothapanna is difficult. Of course, it will become difficult if you follow the wrong path, but if you follow the correct path, it's not at all difficult. You all can become Sothapanna, believe me. Right. Then the 11 types of suffering Lord Buddha explained, and he explained that they are all due to attachment, tanha. The word P there refers to attachment. Attachment with raga, dvesha, moha. Now, attachment with raga, dvesha, moha is bad. Attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka is good. Now, let me explain this to you in little detail at this stage. Now, raga, dvesha, moha. Raga means deep desire for something. So because of the deep desire, you build an attachment, mental attachment to it. And if you can't have it, if you don't get it, then you develop anger. So dvesha is anger and resentment. In other words, if you are getting what you don't like, you develop anger and resentment. Moha means not knowing the Four Noble Truths, the correct Dhamma. You have raga and dvesha because you don't know the correct Dhamma. If you knew correct Dhamma, you know what is raga and what is dvesha, the harm, the massive damage that those two can cause to you, and you know how they originate, and you will know how to stop origination of raga, dvesha, moha. So raga is a desire, attachment with desire, and dvesha is the opposite of it. Moha is not knowing the Four Noble Truths. Now, attachment with raga, dvesha, moha means you are attached to something because of what you get in return from that or that person. Let's say you are attached to your mother. You love your mother so much and you can't live without your mother. Your mother lives with you and she does a lot of things for you. Now, if you are attached to her with raga, dvesha, moha, your attachment, your love, everything is conditional to what you get in return. Supposing she becomes sick and you have to look after her instead of she is looking after you and doing the cooking for you and looking after your children and so on, then the love that you had, the raga, will turn into dvesha. You will get angry and resentment, and she becomes a problem for you because you loved her earlier, you were attached to her with raga, dvesha, moha. On the other hand, if your attachment to your mother is with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka, the word maitri means thought of doing something good to someone. Your desire to do something good to others, right? Not expecting anything in return. That's maitri. Karuna is compassion you have for others. Mudita is being happy for others' happiness. You give something to someone and be happy about it. Or something nice happens to someone, you be happy about it. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita. Those three are not difficult to understand. The fourth one is little difficult, Upekka. Upekka means when something good happens to you don't get attached to it. You keep thinking about it and you enjoy that thought. And then once you go on doing that for some time, you will keep expecting things like that to happen to you. And if they're not happening to you, you will feel sad and unhappy and suffering. So there also you are developing an attachment. So you should not develop an attachment to something, if something good happens to you, or even something bad happens to you. Let's say something bad happens to you. You lose your car and your insurance is run out and you can't get the car back. It's gone forever. And, there's no point in thinking about it and worrying about it. And, it will do only harm and no good to you. All you have to do is you learn a lesson out of it. You will not repeat it. You will forget about it, right? And you will carry on. So you will not develop an attachment, a negative attachment, that is, with dvesha. So attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. Let's say if you are attached to your mother with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. So your attachment is purely for you want to do something good for her, and you have compassion for her, for the things that she has done for you. You are grateful to her, and you feel happy when you do something for her. You look after her, you get what she likes to eat, get her medicine, takes her to the vihara or wherever she likes to go, and you feel happy for her happiness, right? And also, if you know Dhamma, you will not develop an attachment to it, mental attachment. You will, when the good thing happens, when you take the mother to the vihara and she is happy, you will also be happy and you will enjoy it. But you will not not expect it forever, because she cannot live forever, you cannot live forever. So you know that it's temporary. While it's there, you do your best for your mother and you enjoy it. So that is Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka. So attachment with Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka is good. Attachment with Raga Dvesha Moha is bad. Now, when you hear this for the first time, you may not be able to understand straight away, but think about it. That's why Yoniso Manasikara is necessary. So out of the 4 things that you have to do, right now what you are doing is the first 2 things. Kalyana Mitra Sevana and Sirisaddharma Stravana. You are associating a person who is capable of explaining correct Dhamma to you, and you are listening to the correct Dhamma taught by that person, the first 2. Third one, you have to do Yoniso Manasikara. You have to go through it over and over again. Then you will see it clearly and precisely. So that's the way you understand. Firstly, you have to understand these basic concepts like Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. If you don't understand them correctly, you will not be able to comprehend Buddha Dhamma and become Sothapanna. It's a question of understanding. You know, there are no million words to remember. There are only few words. You remember them, you go through them over and over again, and you comprehend the meaning of them, and you practice them. Once you have comprehended, it's important to put it into practice. If your parents are living, you know, when it comes to your parents or your children or husband and wife or in-laws or whoever close to you or even not close to you, you practice Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka and not Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Even if you associate friends, make sure that you are not associating the friend just because what you get in return. You should associate the friend because of what you can give for him or for her, right? What you get in return is secondary. That's the bonus. Don't think about it, right? That is something that is like a bonus. But why you are associating a friend? Because you want to do something good for her or for him. So that's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So attachment with Raga, Dvesha, Moha is bad. Attachment with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka is good. Then Lord Buddha says, Sankittena Pancha Upadana Skandha Dukkha. Now this is where the secret of Buddha Dhamma lies. The Pancha Skandha and Pancha Upadana Skandha, Lord Buddha has given a detailed description of these 2 in the Tripitaka, in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, as well as additional information in the Sothapanna Sutra, which I am going to do next week. And now today I want to finish the rest of the sufferings. The first 4 I explained last week: Jati pi dukkha, Jara pi dukkha, Vyadi pi dukkha, Maranam pi dukkha. Those 4 I explained. Then let me explain the other 7. The next 5: Soka, Parideva, Dukkha, Domanassa, Upayasa, Pi dukkha. Now these 5 I mentioned earlier, they are all in a way same kind of suffering, but coming at different levels. Soka means, for example, if your mother, if you are attached to your mother with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and she has lost something or one of her friends and she's unhappy and worried and suffering, it will cause you suffering as well. Because you cannot understand her and you are not getting what you want from her. You don't like to see her that way. Then Soka Parideva. Parideva means a deeper loss. Let's say your mother has lost her mother or a father and she is in deep sorrow and she's not doing what you wanted her to do on a daily basis. So you get angry and you will suffer as well. But if you love her with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, it will be different. You will try to console her and try your best to make her feel better. But here, if you are attached with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, All you think about is yourself, right? My mother has changed and she's, getting angry for nothing. And these things happens to everyone. Everyone has to die. Why she is worrying like this and not doing her daily things? You'll be thinking that way, and you will feel angry, unhappy, and you will suffer in your mind. Soka parideva dukkha. Dukkha means suffering that comes to your mother as a result of her past karma. They are called dukkha. So when dukkha comes to her, she'll be suffering and you will also suffer. Every time when she's suffering and she's not being able to do what you want her to do, or she's not the way you like to see her, and you will get angry and you will suffer. Every time when you get angry for something, you'll be suffering. You see, anger causes you suffering. So Soka Parideva Dukkha, Domanassa. Domanassa means she has a bigger worry and she is depressed. And so again, it will cause you anger and suffering. Domanassa, Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanassa Upayasa. Upayasa is the worst kind of suffering your mother has. Maybe she has lost her entire family, mother, father, and brothers, sisters from an accident or pandemic or whatever, and she's deeply distressed, depressed, and she is suicidal. She's fed up of everything. She has given up, and she wants to commit suicide, and she becomes a big problem for you. Then you will get angry and you will suffer because you are attached to her with raga, dvesha, moha. You are not getting what you want. You are getting something you don't want. But if you are attached to her with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka, you will understand the situation. You will do your best to make her feel better, console her, and help her to overcome that mental problems, psychological problems that she has. Get her necessary treatments, look after her, be with her, and get out of that problem. That you will do only if you are attached to her with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So that's Soka Parideva Dukkha Domanassa Upayasa api Dukkha. Then Pi Yehi Vipayogo Dukkho. Pi Yehi Vipayogo Dukkho means if you like something and you can't get it, it's the same thing. You like something, you are attached to something with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and you can't get it, then you feel sad and your mind will be suffering. For example, you like to have your car nicely running every day, but it's breaking down every day, it's giving you trouble. So you will get angry and you will suffer because you are attached to the car with Raga, Dvesha, Moha, not Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka. You haven't understood that car is not permanent. It's anicca, dukkha, anatta. You cannot control anything. It will not stay the way you want forever. It will change. So when it changes, you will suffer. So that's piyehi vipayogo dukkho. The opposite of that is appi yehi sampayogo dukkho. If you are getting something you don't like, it will cause you anger and suffering. For example, at your work, you are getting a new boss that you don't like, or you have to work with a colleague that you don't like, or some relation you don't like that come to live with you, or something like that. Something that you don't like happens to you, or you have to eat some food that you don't like. It will make you angry and suffer if you don't understand Dhamma. Because when you get something you don't like, you get angry because you don't know Dhamma. So those are the 11 types of suffering. They are all due to attachment with raga, dvesha, moha. In other words, if you are attached to something with raga, dvesha, moha, yampi ichchang nalabhati. And if you can't get it the way you want, tampi dukkha, it causes you suffering. So I will stop there. We have taken nearly 1 hour for the sermon. And then I'll give you, next week, I'm going to explain you in detail the Panchaskandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha. So that Rupa Vedana, Sanya, Sankara Vijnana, Aswada, Adinava, Nisarana, and Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. Those things I will explain you next week and the week after. So I'll stop there for today and give you time to ask any questions. Please ask your questions up to Sothapanna. From Buddha Dhamma, what is going to help you to become Sothapanna? You can ask any question. Anything that I explained earlier, you can question me. If you are not here before, that's okay. I'm more than happy to explain anything in detail. Thank you.
Namo Buddhaya Bhante, it's Hardika.
Namo Buddhaya Hardika.
Would you mind explaining Upeka again, please?
Upeka, yes. Actually, Upeka is the one that most people find it difficult to understand, right? Now, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka, the four things. Now, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, the first three are quite straightforward. Maitri is the thought that you have of doing something good to someone, right? When you see someone, you feel like doing something good. That's the Maitri thought. Maitri, Karuna. Karuna is compassion. You have Maitri because of Karuna. These things go together, you know. In fact, all these four go together, one after the other. So Maitri, Karuna is compassion. Mudita, you feel happy for others' happiness. You give something to someone to see him happy, to see him better, and feel happy about it, right? You give something to a beggar, or you give a dana to a monk, and you feel happy about it, isn't it? So that is mudita. Upekka means, now upekka is the fourth one. This is the one that most people find it difficult to comprehend. Mudita means, now, when something good happens to you, let me give you an example. Let's say you passed a difficult exam. You passed your final year of bachelor's degree, and you feel so happy. And you keep thinking about it all the time and feel happy, you know. You get attached to that feeling. It's like a person taking drugs, you know, narcotics or whatever. They get attached to it, you see, and they keep asking for more and more and more. That is the nature of our mind. If we get attached to something with raga, dvesha, moha, then we keep asking more. Our mind, our vijnana, will keep asking more and more for that, more of that. So here what happens is, after some time, you know, you will get bored of that thought, but you are expecting same kind of feeling from there, and it's not coming to you. You see, after 2 months, it's finished, but you are expecting happiness out of it. It's not coming to you, so you're not getting what you want. So that will cause you suffering, right? What you have to do is, when something good happens to you, enjoy that moment and then forget about it, right? You don't have to be attached to it and keep thinking about it all the time. And then you get attached to that feeling. You want to feel that way all the time. But it will not happen. That feeling, the pleasure that you get out of it is called aswada. And aswad is mentally fabricated pleasure. Actually, they are what you are enjoying. It's a mentally fabricated pleasure. So that will go down naturally. And when it goes down, you will feel sad again. Sadness leads to unhappiness, then to suffering, right? Does that make sense to you, Hardika?
Yes, Bhante, thank you. So basically,
and the other side of that is, you know, when something bad happens to you, like losing your car, the example I mentioned earlier, right? If you keep thinking about it, it will only make you worry, right? Worry and suffering. There's no point, you see. Okay, you feel bad about it. You lost your car. It's your fault. There's nothing you can do now. You will learn something out of it. Make sure you will not repeat the same mistake and forget about it, right? So that's upekha, being, you can say, maintaining a stable mind, not getting attached to any pleasure or any displeasure.
So it's kind of like not expecting the same, not expecting the same kind of like feeling from something you're having.
Yes.
Not expecting the
Yes.
same outcome kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Bhante.
So you see, if you do something good to someone, let's say you give a dana or you build a vihara and you keep thinking about it and enjoy that thought, that is good because that is something you have done for others, right? What you are doing for yourself is with raga, dvesha, moha, but you are doing for others is with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka, right? So that kind of thought, that feeling, if you keep remembering and enjoying it, that is good. Any other questions, anyone?
We have a raised hand from Mahesh. Please go ahead, Mahesh.
Hello, I can't hear you properly. Who is that?
It's a question from Mahesh. Mahesh, please go ahead.
Yeah, my mother is not feeling well. So can we share a merits, everyone share merits to her?
Yes, of course. Now, what's your mother's name?
Madan Kumari Mehta.
Madan Kumari Mehta. Now, at the end of the sermon, we always transfer merits and wish everyone well. So just remind me the name again towards the end. The last 5 minutes always I utilize to transfer merits and wish everyone well. So we will mention your mother's name, transfer merits to her and wish her full recovery and quick recovery. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bhante ji. Thank you so much.
If anyone has a question and maybe can put it in the chat box, or if anyone required any translation, that can also be done.
Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim Bhante ji, Vinaya here.
Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim Vinaya. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you so much, Bhante ji.
Okay.
So it's a comment and question.
Yes.
So Bhante ji, I mean, we have heard about Four Noble Truths and the Dhammacakka Pavartan Sutta so many times, but the distinction that you made was very profound, which is the cause of suffering is not just attachment, but attachment with raga, desa, moha.
Yes.
Right, is bad, and attachment with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekha is good. I think that is one thing that we don't get to hear, right? Yes. Whenever we hear from a noble truth, then there's dukkha, there's a cause of dukkha, there's a reason for dukkha, there's a way out of dukkha and the way to dukkha, right? So that reason which we keep hearing as a attachment, I think that's what I found very profound in all your sermons, Bhanteji. So thank you so much for making that clear distinction, because that helps a lot.
Thank you for that comment, Vinaya. You are quite right. These subtle points, if people, people are not explained these things, people will not know, right? It's not easy to think of these things by yourself and discover them. Someone has to explain them to you.
Yep.
So it's very important that these subtle differences are explained to people. Then only they can comprehend correct Dhamma and practice correct Dhamma, you see. Otherwise, if you ask people to detach all their attachments, what are they going to do with their parents?
Yeah.
Are they going to throw them in an elderly home? No, certainly not. So attachment with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka is very important, especially starting with the family members and then spreading that up to the Nibbana. You have Maitri, Karuna attachment for Nibbana, right? If you don't have an attachment for something, you won't pursue it, will you?
Yeah.
So your attachment, as long as you have, comprehended Dhamma, you become Sothapanna, then you develop an attachment to Nibbana. Then you have no attachment to, continuing this birth of a cycle of birth and rebirth, what we call samsara. So you detach your attachment to samsara, which the non-Sotapanna people have, in other words, Pruthakjana people have. As a Sotapanna person, one thing you do is you detach your attachment to samsara and you develop an attachment with Nibbana. Same thing, once before we understand Dhamma, we have an attachment to our parents with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Once we comprehended Dhamma, we get rid of that and we develop an attachment with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. We don't care about what they give us. We try to do our best for them and feel happy about it. See their happiness and feel happy about it, right? So it's very, very important to have attachment with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. And I have never seen this explanation in any book.
Thank you so much, Bhanteji.
Any other questions, anyone? We still got plenty of time.
Bhanteji, Naksen, in the yesterday's session for Dhamma school, I put the question related to handling the kids in terms of.
Sorry, I can't hear you, Naksen. Can you speak up, please?
Yeah, yesterday I put the question related to handling the kids in unavoidable situations. Sometimes we need to tell them a lie. So
sorry, you are fading. You are breaking in the middle. I'm not catching certain words. Can you type it?
Okay.
Vandami Bhante, Rima here.
Hello, Rima.
Bhanteji, there was a question on YouTube channel. Some person, Bhumika, has asked a question. So I don't know if we should reply her in the YouTube channel or she has a doubt.
Yeah, please ask me the question.
Yes, Bhanteji, I will read it for you.
Can you speak up, please, Rima?
Yes.
I can hardly hear you.
So her question is, those who attain Sothapanna has to have only 7 birth maximum, no 8 birth Ratana Sutta. So why it is difficult for attaining Arhat Phala?
You see, now, Ratana Sutra says yes. It says there's no 8th period, not 8th birth, right? 8 time periods, 8 time period. Now, this is one point a lot of people have misunderstood. What it means is there's no 8 time period for him. He will have to pass now the 7 time periods before becoming Arahat. The 7 time periods are, once he becomes Sothapanna, the time period that he will spend as a Sothapanna person. Then he will start moving from there, moving forward. Then the time that the second time period is the time that he will spend on the Sakuddagami path to become Sakuddagami, practicing the path. Then he will become Sakuddagami, and the third time period he will spend as a Sakuddagami person. Then the fourth time period on his way to Anagami. And the fifth time period he will spend as an Anagami person. And the sixth time period he will spend on his way to Arahat. And the seventh time period he will spend as an Arahat person. So it's time periods. One person could finish these time periods in one life. There are people in the Tripitaka like Minister Santati. There was the King Pasena the Kosal had a minister called Santati. He he completed from A to Z, from Sothapanna to Arahat within 1 hour. Some people can complete it within a short time. Some people could take 1,000 lives to complete it, depending on their paramita, right? So it's not the number of lives, it's the number of time periods. So the time periods now, if you are born in the human world, the time period is maximum, let's say 120 years. But if you go to good Divyaloka or good Brahmaloka, time periods could run to millions of years, right? So it depends on the person's paramita. Some people would like to become Arahat quickly and go to Nibbana quickly. Some people would like to become Sothapanna and do a service to the world for a long time and then become Sakuddagami and then Anagami, Arahat. So it depends on the person, depends on person's paramita. Does that answer that question, Rima?
I think so, Bhanteji. I will reply her in the YouTube channel. I will ask her to watch this video.
Nangsen, can I see your question again? I saw you were typing something.
Bhanteji, I will read it for you.
Okay.
Telling lie to kids to make them understand certain things with Maitri, Karuna, Upekka is good. Is this a right understanding?
Yes, it is. Whether it's the truth or the lies doesn't matter. What matters is whether you are constructing a thought with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, or Ragadvesha Mohan, right? If you construct your thought with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, then you are telling something to someone to do something good to that person. Your PO intention is doing something good to that person and not getting something in return. not a benefit for you, benefit for the other person. So with that intention in mind, with that thought in mind, whether you say the truth or the lies, it doesn't matter, right? Musavada Veramani Sikkhapadan Samadhyami doesn't mean all lies. It means lying with Raga Dvesha Moha. Raga Dvesha Moha is the golden key.
Right, Bhante, right.
For deciding whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing.
Right, Bhante.
See, to do anything mentally, physically, or verbally, first you have to construct a thought in your mind, which happens within a fraction of a second. Our mind works very fast, and so it works faster than the most advanced computer in the world. So there are only two ways in which the thought can be constructed, either with Raga Dvesha Moha or Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekkha. If it is with Raga Dvesha Moha, the end of that thought, that action, will help you to continue your samsara, this process of birth and rebirth. Whereas if your thought is with Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekkha, it will help you to get out of these 31 planes and go to the best place called Nibbana. If you think about it using your Yoniso Manasikara, it becomes very clear. It's a very simple concept. Buddha Dhamma is very, very simple concepts. Lord Buddha has explained in such a simple way, anyone can understand. There's no rocket science there, but one has to really sit down using Yoniso Manasikara, think about it. You see, first you listen to it. When you listen to it, Lord Buddha explained it in two steps, if you like. He said, Janato Passato. Janato means you listen to Dhamma and learn it and remember it. Passato means you go through it over and over again, analyze it, and see it clearly, get a vision of it. Once you have got the vision, then you have no doubt whatsoever. It's precise and clear to you.
Bhanteji, Naksan is asking one more question. Is it applicable for having alcohol also?
Having what, Rima?
Alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yes.
Well, if a person is sick, right? And the doctor says this medicine includes alcohol. Let's say he will say you have to take a shot of brandy. It is a medicine, right? It is not given with Raga Dvesha Moha. It is given to save his life, make him better, right? So the thought is with not Raga Dvesha Moha, thought is with Maitri Karuna. So if he takes a shot of, let's say one shot of brandy, I don't know how you call them, because I have never tasted alcohol in my life. Because at a later stage, due to some reason, my father was a very, very good man. He was better than me, but unfortunately, he became an alcoholic for a certain period. So because of that, I hated alcohol and I have never tasted alcohol. So I don't know what you call them. I have heard people saying shot of brandy and whiskey. I don't know what it really means. But using the same language, if you take a shot of brandy, let's say if you take a little brandy as a medicine, there's alcohol in it, but that has nothing to do with Raga Dvesha Moha, and it will be neither an unwholesome deed nor a sin. But if you take a half a bottle of brandy and start, doing things with Raga Dvesha Moha, mentally, physically, and verbally, then that is an unwholesome deed and a sin. Does that answer your question?
Right, Bhante, thank you. Even I have also not consumed a drop of alcohol yet, but many of my friends always say to coming into the life, that is the most important thing one has to do. But I never have a craving or feeling for that. but for the sake of understanding, I just clarified. Thank you, Bhante ji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, many friends have told me that, in parties, I go to, when I was a layperson, I used to go to parties, I used to go to pubs with friends, I used to go to nightclubs. But one thing I never did was I never tasted alcohol. I was determined because I saw what it did to my father when I was a young boy. So it changed him completely. So I was determined that I will never do it, right? So alcohol can change people. Most definitely. That's why it says Suramere Majjipama Dattana. Majji means getting drunk with Raga Dvesha Moha. Alcohol makes you, lose your common sense, and make you start thinking, constructing thoughts with Raga Dvesha Moha. In other words, alcohol has the ability to increase your power to think in Raga Dvesha Moha.
Right, Bhante ji. Thank you so much, Bhante.
Bhante ji, continuing with that